Welcome back to my YouTube channel, where we dive deep into the mysteries of the world's most astonishing coins, the kind that seem to defy logic, rewrite history, and stir up speculation from every corner of the numismatic world. If you're into stories that blend hidden secrets, bizarre twists of fate, and jaw-dropping discoveries, then you've come to the right place. And today, we are going to take you on a journey unlike any other, centered around one of the most shocking finds in modern coin history, the 2016 D1 cent coin that somehow became worth a staggering $380 million. Yes, you heard that right. Not $3.80. Not $380,000. But $380 million. A single penny. From 2016. Minted in Denver. And yet, it has rewritten the entire understanding of what a coin can be. It all began in a dusty storage unit in a remote corner of New Mexico. The unit had been left untouched for over 7 years, its rent mysteriously paid in cash by someone who never showed their face. When the lease finally lapsed and the property was cleared for auction, no one expected anything valuable to be inside. The winning bidder, a retired locksmith named Harold Greaves, was just looking for old tools to tinker with. What he found instead was a small wooden box, roughly the size of a showbox, hidden behind a shelf of rusted paint cans and brittle newspapers. The box was sealed with a brass lock and wrapped in layers of waxy parchment, as if it were never meant to be opened. Harold, driven by equal parts curiosity and muscle memory, cracked the lock within minutes. Inside were three things: a tarnished copper coin placed inside a glass capsule, a yellowed envelope, and a photograph dated April 28, 2016. The photo showed a nondescript alley behind the Denver Mint, with a small X scratched onto the lower right corner. On the back of the photo, in barely legible script, were the words "Only one made. Never tell." Now, Harold wasn't a coin collector. He'd never been to a coin show in his life. But something about the way the coin gleamed under the low light made him pause. It didn't look like a regular penny. There was something off. The copper seemed richer, older somehow. And the stamp on the reverse didn't match any design he'd seen before. It had the familiar Lincoln profile on the front, yes, but the back was unlike anything in circulation. Instead of the Union shield, there was a different symbol, one that would take months to identify, and would spark a wildfire of speculation across the internet once the coin's photo was leaked. The envelope contained a single sheet of paper, with coordinates scribbled in a sharp, angular hand. It pointed to a location in the Rockies, somewhere between Colorado Springs and the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. The note simply read, "Only he knows why. Ask before it's too late." Harold, baffled but intrigued, decided to bring the coin to a local pawn shop just to see what he was dealing with. The shop owner took one look and immediately asked Harold to leave the coin with him overnight. Something about its weight, its composition, and the faint micro-etching along the rim, which read "One to unite, one to reveal," convinced him this was no ordinary coin. He reached out to a coin expert in Denver named Marla Kim, who had spent her career chasing obscure mint errors and secret test strikes. When she examined the coin, her hands trembled. She had heard rumors about a covert project run by a rogue engraver during the 2016 minting process, but she had always dismissed them as conspiracy theories. Now, holding this coin, she wasn't so sure. Marla tracked down a retired engraver who had worked at the Denver Mint for over 30 years. His name was Walter Adams, and he lived alone in a cabin not far from the coordinates found in the envelope. When they arrived, he was already waiting for them, as if he'd known they were coming. He looked at the coin for a long moment and then let out a heavy sigh. "So it's finally surfaced," he said. "After all these years." He told them a story that sounded like it had been pulled from a spy novel. In late 2015, the Denver Mint had been approached by a secretive government division with a request to test a new alloy, one embedded with microscopic circuitry. The idea was to create a coin that could serve as a prototype for a new kind of tracking device. Not for surveillance, they claimed, but for emergency identification. A coin that, if carried, could be located anywhere in the world. Walter had been selected to design the engraving, something symbolic, something powerful, but as the project went on, Walter realized he was being lied to. The division wasn't looking to protect people. They were building something else, something tied to a larger experiment in quantum mapping. And the coin? It wasn't a prototype. It was the key. Only one was ever made, coded to a specific algorithm that could open a gateway to what they called the mirror registry, a verized digital plane where every action, every event, every person had a quantum reflection. Fearing what they would do with it, Walter stole the coin before it could be activated. He smuggled it out of the mint the night of April 28, 2016, hidden inside a box of rejected blanks. He had already made arrangements for it to be hidden, the storage unit secured under a pseudonym, and the rent prepaid in cash. Then he vanished from the public eye, refusing all contact, waiting for the day someone would find it. That someone was Harold. After the story broke, the coin was authenticated by no fewer than 5 independent labs, all confirming that its composition did not match any known US mint materials. The presence of exotic trace elements, yttrium, hafnium, even a rare isotope of bismuth, suggested a fabrication process far beyond anything used in standard coinage. The microcircuitry embedded within the coin's core was still functional, pulsing with a faint but measurable electromagnetic field. Offers began pouring in. Collectors from Dubai, Tokyo, Zurich, and Los Angeles competed for ownership. One mysterious buyer offered $250 million in cryptocurrency, no questions asked. Another bidder promised double that amount in gold bullion. Eventually, an anonymous collector known only as the Curator secured the coin for $380 million in an auction so secretive that even the auctioneer's name was never revealed. Since then, rumors have only grown. Some say the coin has been used to access a hidden network of military servers. Others claim it's the missing piece in a quantum computing puzzle developed in the 1990s and then abruptly shut down. Still others believe it's cursed, pointing to the sudden deaths of 2 experts who handled it without gloves. No one knows for sure. What we do know is this: a 2016 D1-cent coin, likely seen by millions of Americans as nothing more than pocket change, turned out to be the most expensive coin ever sold. A coin that should have cost 1 cent now holds a value of $380 million, not just because of its rarity, but because of the secrets it may contain, the doors it might open, and the power it might hold. And yet, even now, questions remain. Why did Walter really create the coin? Was he trying to protect the world, or unlock something hidden within it? Is the coin still just a coin, or has it become something else entirely? And perhaps the most important question of all, is there another one out there? Because according to a recently uncovered document from the Denver Mint's archives, one marked Project Echo Refraction, there was a second coin. A twin. Struck on the same night. Hidden somewhere else, and it's never been found. So the next time you find a 2016 D penny in your change jar, take a closer look. Because you never know what might be hiding in plain sight. You never know which coin could change your life. Or the world. Thanks for watching. And remember, there's always more than meets the eye. Next, 1996 D1-cent USA coin, where rare treasures of the numismatic world come alive and reveal the unbelievable stories hidden in plain sight. If you thought you'd seen it all, buckle up, because today's story isn't just about a penny, it's about a legacy, a mystery, and a once-overlooked 1996 D1-cent coin that turned out to be worth a staggering $10 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny, minted in 1996 at the Denver Mint, would go on to change the life of a retired janitor, shake up the numismatic world, and spark a wild chase involving secret collectors, lost ledgers, and a government agency determined to keep things quiet. This is not just a tale of metal and minting, it's the story of a lifetime. It all began on an unusually warm April afternoon in a small, sleepy town nestled somewhere between the rusted veins of forgotten railroads and the peeling paint of old general stores. Bartholomew Bart Granger, a retired janitor in his early 70s, spent most of his days tending to his modest garden, sipping cold lemonade from a frosted glass, and occasionally sorting through an old coin collection left to him by his grandfather, who had worked as a copper smelter during the 1940s. Bart had never thought much of the collection. It was more sentimental than valuable, or so he believed. His grandfather, a quiet man with thick fingers and a deeper love for silence, had always insisted that someday, one of these'll change your life, boy. Bart would chuckle every time he remembered that line, shaking his head at the thought. The box of coins had sat in Bart's basement for over 30 years. It had gathered dust, mouse droppings, and an impressive colony of cobwebs. That day, Bart had simply decided to clear some space. There was no grand plan. Just an old man looking to tidy up. As he cracked open the box, the familiar metallic scent of aged copper and oxidized alloys filled the room. Rows and rows of coins were stacked in makeshift cardboard holders, many of them labeled in shaky cursive. Most were common dates. 1971, 1982. A few steel cents from 1943, and even a mercury dime or two. He almost closed the lid and shoved it all back onto the shelf when one coin caught his EYE.AT first. There was nothing unusual about it. A 1996 D. Lincoln cent, darkened with age, its edges slightly worn. But something felt off. The way it shimmered under the light. The way the copper almost seemed too vibrant. He flipped it over in his palm. The reverse was sharp, almost untouched. As if it had never been in circulation. And yet, the obverse had wear, specifically on Lincoln's cheek and the upper part of his head, which seemed altered. Almost like a double strike. But it wasn't just that. The coin felt heavier. Bart retrieved a scale he used for weighing garden seeds. Most pennies from 1996 should weigh about 2.5 grams, made from copper-plated zinc. This one read 3.11 grams. That was the weight of the pre-1982 solid copper cents. His brow furrowed. Was it a mix-up? A mule coin? A rare planchette error? He didn't know. But he knew someone who might point. 2 hours later, he sat in front of an old desktop computer, keyboard keys yellowed with age, the modem wheezing to life like a dying animal. He typed in 1996 D penny error heavyweight and hit enter. Forums popped up. Coin collectors discussed everything from minor die cracks to elusive proof strikes. And then he saw it. A thread titled 1996 D Copper Cent Mystery, Myth or Hidden Treasure? The thread dated back nearly 15 years, authored by someone with the username Numus Knight. It detailed an alleged theft at the Denver Mint involving a small batch of experimental copper blanks accidentally, or perhaps intentionally, struck with regular dies. The author claimed the coins had vanished before proper accounting, and that the Mint had never officially acknowledged the error, citing classified equipment testing as the reason for restricted documentation. Bart leaned back in his chair, heart thumping. He glanced down at the coin again. Could it be one of those? He needed an expert point. 3 days later, he was in Denver, sitting across from Maria Chavez, a renowned numismatist who ran a discreet private consultancy for high-end collectors and coin dealers. Maria, a no-nonsense woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a sharper wit, examined the coin under a microscope. Her hands were steady, her movements precise. It's genuine, she said finally. And not just that, this is one of the lost batch. Bart blinked. Lost batch? Maria leaned in, voice low. There's a story that's circulated in certain circles for years. In 1996, there was a small batch of pre-1982 copper planches found in storage at the Denver Mint. Someone decided to run a test strike using modern dies. Officially, none were supposed to leave the facility. But 5 coins went missing. Some say it was an inside job. Others think they were destroyed. But no one's ever seen one, until now. Bart swallowed hard. So what's it worth? Maria didn't answer immediately. She picked up her phone and made a single call, speaking in hushed tones. Then she looked up, conservatively. If you auctioned it tomorrow, at least 3 to 5 million. But to the right buyer, especially those who care about mint law and conspiracy, it could go for 10. Bart felt like he'd been punched in the chest. 10 million? Maria nodded. But that kind of money comes with shadows. This coin isn't just valuable. It's dangerous. The mint doesn't want it public. If the story gets out, it opens them up to questions they buried a long time ago. And just like that, Bart was in deeper than he'd ever imagined. What began as a spring cleaning chore had become a high-stakes chess match involving secretive collectors, private security firms, off-the-record government agents, and a $10 million coin that wasn't supposed to exist. The offers started small. $1 million in cash. No questions asked. Then a man in a black suit showed up at Bart's front door, offering 3. When Bart refused, the man warned him that the coin might be considered government property, an authorized currency, and could be seized. Bart slammed the door in his face. Next came the break-in. Nothing was taken, except the coin. Or so the burglars thought. Bart had hidden the real one inside the hollowed-out base of a garden gnome. The decoy in his bedroom safe was a clean 1996 D he'd aged with vinegar and thyme. Maria had told him to prepare for this. Now, with the real coin still in his possession, Bart had a choice: go public and ignite a firestorm, or sell it quietly to a buyer Maria trusted, someone with no ties to government, but a deep love for coin history. Last 2009 D1 cent USA coin, where history meets hidden treasure, where the everyday becomes extraordinary, and where your pocket change might just make you a millionaire. Today, we are diving deep into the astonishing true story, well, as true as legends become, of one of the most unexpected fortunes in American history. A tiny coin, minted in Denver in 2009, that would eventually be worth an unimaginable $628 million. Yes, you heard that right. 1 cent to 628 million. But as always, there's more to the story than meets the eye. And this one? This one involves lost love, secret codes, mistaken identities, government secrecy, and a twist that might just make you check every penny you've ever touched. It all begins not in 2009, but nearly a century earlier, in 1911. A quiet man named Albert Linwood had just begun work as an engraver's apprentice at the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. Though not particularly well known in public records, Albert kept extensive journals detailing his work, theories, and suspicions. He believed there were messages hidden within coin designs, tiny marks that conveyed something more than decorative elegance. He began a lifetime obsession, the study of numismatic patterns, not for their rarity, but for their secrets. Fast forward to 2008, when Albert's great-granddaughter, Chloe Linwood, an MIT cryptography student, stumbled upon his journals while cleaning out her late grandfather's attic in Santa Fe. Most of the books were covered in dust and mold, but a few had remained preserved in a sealed leather chest. Among those journals was one labeled Project Seed, a legacy buried in copper. Intrigued by the poetic title, Chloe read through it and discovered a wild theory about a final coin design that Albert never got to create. He believed that one day, the U.S. Mint would be hijacked, not by thieves with guns, but by ideologues with printing presses. To warn the future, he had drafted a blueprint for a coin that would be minted only once. And it was coded. The journal hinted that this coin would be a penny. And not just any penny, but one bearing the Lincoln image with subtle alterations. The reverse design, according to his sketches, would conceal numbers, coordinates, and an encryption cipher only a Linwood could understand. But Albert never completed it. Or so she thought. In 2009, the U.S. Mint released 4 designs to commemorate the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Each design depicted a different chapter in Lincoln's life, and millions were produced. Among them, the Denver Mint produced the Professional Life design, which depicted Lincoln standing in front of the Illinois State Capitol. It was widely distributed, completely ordinary at first glance. But to Chloe, something looked off. One night, while reviewing high-resolution images of the various 2009 pennies, something caught her eye. A strange imperfection in one particular deminted coin. It wasn't a minting error. It was intentional. The shadow beneath Lincoln's foot wasn't consistent with any lighting source. And when she overlaid Albert's old sketches onto the coin's reverse side, the shapes aligned perfectly. She was stunned. The blueprint was there, hiding in plain sight. For years, Chloe tracked down as many 2009 D Professional Life pennies as she could, examining each one for the specific markers Albert described. None matched. Until she visited a coin show in Tulsa in 2015 and stumbled across a peculiar coin locked away in a cracked acrylic case, mislabeled as a misstrike. It was priced at 12 cents. She bought it, took it home, and spent months analyzing it. Her cryptographic skills helped her decode the shadow under Lincoln's shoe, revealing a string of numbers, 34.7304, minus 86.5861, coordinates that pointed to Huntsville, Alabama. In the margins of the rotunda's dome was a series of minuscule ridges forming a pattern that, once deciphered, referenced a date, July 20, 1969. The day of the Apollo 11 moon landing. The implications were staggering. Why would a penny minted in 2009 contain coordinates linked to America's space legacy? And more importantly, how had it carried the blueprint Albert had designed nearly a century earlier? Chloe knew she had to go deeper. Her research led her to a defunct NASA facility in Huntsville known as the Redstone Arsenal. Buried beneath layers of bureaucracy, she unearthed an old access panel behind a derelict test bunker. On a hunch, she placed the coin into a small circular indentation that had been hidden beneath a metal plate. The panel lit up for the first time in decades, revealing a hidden elevator descending into what appeared to be a sealed archive. She stepped in, unsure of what she'd find. What she found was the truth. During the 1960s, the US government had begun experimenting with storage methods for vast digital databases, but the technology at the time was far too large. In a top-secret initiative called Project Vault Light, engineers experimented with physical media using nanoscopic etching, essentially data embedded into materials so small it could fit into a coin. Albert's theoretical designs had somehow reached them. His blueprint had become a prototype, and the 2009 D penny was the first coin ever used as a test model for molecular-level data storage. But only one had ever been successfully encoded, that coin. And on it? The complete genome of the first successful human cryopreservation subject. A government-funded time capsule in copper? And beyond that? The location of a vault that stored classified quantum research, cold fusion experimentation, and blueprints for energy solutions that would render fossil fuels obsolete. In essence, the coin contained the keys to the future. Word spread quickly, though not to the public. Chloe was contacted by representatives claiming to be from the US Treasury, NASA, and the Department of Energy. All offered to buy the coin. Some offers reached into the tens of millions. One man offered her $200 million in offshore crypto. But she refused. And then, things got dark. One night, her apartment was broken into. Her laptop was wiped. The coin disappeared. Or so it seemed. Chloe had been smarter than that. She'd created a replica using a microetching laser from her lab and left the decoy in a locked box labeled Rare Finds. The real coin? Hidden in an antique music box her grandmother had given her, now in a secure bank vault in Iceland. A whistleblower from within the Department of Defense leaked classified files to an independent journalist named Mike Halbrun, who published a redacted version of Chloe's story on a little-known conspiracy site. The story went viral after a major podcast covered it, claiming that $1 Million Penny was real. But it wasn't $1 million after an anonymous bidder connected to a Scandinavian tech mogul made a verified offer through a Zurich auction house. The coin was officially valued at $628 million. The auction house, which had never seen anything like it, quietly confirmed that the coin did, in fact, hold molecular data storage well beyond modern capabilities. A formal report leaked a week later confirming the coin's contents. World governments tried to suppress it, but the genie was out of the bottle. People started searching every penny they could find, especially from 2009. But none matched Chloe's. The original, the only one, was in a secure location, now insured by Lloyd's of London and protected round the clock. The coin had become a legend. Chloe vanished soon after. Some say she lives in a high-tech underground compound in Norway. Others believe she was recruited into a secret branch of the European Space Agency. Still others believe she was silenced. But one thing is certain, her story changed the world. Today, people talk about the 1933 double eagle and the 1943 copper penny, but among those who know, the 2009 D. Lincoln professional life penny is the crown jewel of all US coinage. Not because of its age, or rarity, or metal content, but because it proved that sometimes, history hides in the smallest places. That a penny can hold secrets no one is meant to find. That a legacy, encoded through generations, can change everything. So next time you see a coin in your change tray, maybe, just maybe, it's more than what it seems.